Everyone, welcome back to a new session of Jets Talk here on Knicks Bros TV. Finally, we were able to log on. Joe and I were like two cavemen trying to figure these things out, trying to meet technology. But no, it's a huge pleasure to have Joe back on. This is something that I wanted to do with him as soon as we did the first one. Him and I have a lot of Jets insights. The one thing I like about Joe is just for the fact that him and I can agree and disagree on things. I don't like to talk to somebody that I can always agree with. I mean, it's the same thing, but so that's the cool thing with Joe. So Joe, go right ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone, all my followers, all his followers, everyone that watches my videos, everyone that watches his videos. My name is Joe. I do Jets videos. Usually it's 3 picks. Talk about different games around the NFL. There's always one Jets game. I also give Jets insight as well. It's about the team, about our moves, free agency, draft, everything that's coming up. I'll be covering that too. I also do a radio show. It's called Let's Talk Jets. Really
Oh wow!
big on there. It's Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Oh wow! That's cool.
We've interviewed tons of players. I've interviewed Demario Davis. We've talked to Tommy Bohannon. We also talked to NFL agents as well.
No wow!
Joe Corey has been on. We've
That's
had
cool.
an agent by the name of Robinson as well. He was on earlier this week. So, those links will be provided as well, so you guys can check that out and listen, and just follow, comment, rate,
Wow!
subscribe,
Cool.
and everything's good. So,
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I know last time Joe and I spoke, the Jets looked a lot different of what they do now. Ever since we spoke, obviously Rex Ryan's no longer part of the franchise. John Itzik has met the exit door. Also, we have hired a new coach named Todd Bowles. A little background on Todd Bowles. He started his playing career with the Washington Redskins. He played for them for 4 years. Went to the Niners and came back, finished his career with the Redskins. He's got a tremendous amount of coaching experience, a lot on the defensive side. Started his career with Morehouse College in 1997. Actually was a secondary coach for the New York Jets in the year of 2000. And then he had much bigger roles for the Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, and the Arizona Cardinals. And he has become our head coach. I'm really happy about that. I'm going to let Joe speak on it, but my opinion as far as Todd Bowles is concerned, I think he was a tremendous hire. I know a lot of people were not, too fond of having another defensive-minded coach, but I think what Todd Bowles brings to the table is a little bit more balance. And everybody wanted Dan Quinn, and I was one of the guys where I wanted Dan Quinn as well, but I was not going to sit here and bank on waiting for the Seattle Seahawks to lose for us to be able to get Dan Quinn. I was afraid if we wait around too much, there's definitely, a little bit more attractive sites like Atlanta that was able to grab him, and obviously Atlanta did. So the fact that we went out there and got Todd Bowles, I am really happy. Joe, what's your take on Todd Bowles?
yeah, I like the signing. I know, like you said, I know a lot of people were excited and wanted Dan Quinn, and that's fine. But at the same time, Todd Bowles was a defensive coordinator. Did a lot with a little. That's something I was extremely impressed with him. He was able to take his scheme and mold it because there was a lot of guys that were hurt.
Yeah.
He had a D tackle that was a star that was hurt
Yeah.
darn near the whole season, tore his ACL. There were other guys on his defense that were in and out, and the defense still performed.
Yeah.
So I think the hire of Todd Bowles was great. Again, we can't put him in the Hall of Fame yet or anything
Yeah,
like
of course.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's a guy that even when I listened to his pressers, he talked about accountability and playing complementary football with his staff as well. A couple of the guys he hired I thought were extremely good hires as well. Chan Gailey, bringing in Pepper Johnson, Marcel Shipp being our running backs coach. He's done some things fairly well. I think he's going to get this defense together, and he's just going to be able to make these guys play because, we like I said, he's done a lot with a little, and we have a team that right now, if you look at our secondary and, you look at where we're at right now, he's just what the doctor ordered for us.
Well, here's one thing is, and this is the question that everyone asks, is how much of an improvement is it from Rex Ryan?
Well, I think you have to kind of wait and see with that. I mean, he hasn't played anybody. Rex's scheme worked well here. He did different things, and now he's gone. And I think that Todd Bowles' scheme will work well here as well. But we just have to give it time and see what he does. Dan Quinn, was is an offensive is a great defensive coordinator. He's awesome. But the thing is, he's got a lot of Pro Bowlers on that team. You got Sherman, you got safeties in the back. He's got a great front as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from him, and
Sure.
the Seahawks drafted well and everything like that. But we don't have that here. And if you look at Todd Bowles' background, he did a lot with a little. Like I said, he didn't have a whole team full of Pro Bowls there. He didn't have a lot of guys that were outstanding, but he put guys in the right position to make plays. And I think he'll do that here too. But again, we have to, he hasn't even played a game yet. So we kind of have to wait and see if he's an improvement and what happens and how his time here plays out.
Just imagine if the Cardinals had a healthy quarterback
Hmm.
this year, they probably would have been able to go further than they did.
Hmm.
Um, one thing with Todd Bowles is that's refreshing to me is, we didn't go out there and grab one of those guys that's been in the league for a while, like, a Jack Del Rio or a Mike Smith. I kind of like the fact that we went out there, got somebody, that hasn't had been able to be a coach at the league, and I think he can bring a lot of fresh new ideas to the table. Something I want to talk about is ever since he signed with the Buffalo Bills, and I've been known to be a Rex guy. I love Rex. I love everything about him. But ever since he signed with the Bills, man, I'm really rooting for his failure. Do you feel the same way?
You know what? My thing is with Rex is that, everyone knows I love Rex, and he had his faults. And, you know, one of those things was never being able to, get a quarterback in here and get it done. And I think Rex's biggest fault was never getting a good offensive coordinator. He didn't have the connections to get one in here. And I
But
think that absolutely. Go ahead.
that was a conscious, and I mean he took that Bills position just for the fact to stay in the AFC East
No,
and
no.
go against his old team.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think that it was to stay in the AFC East. I think he just took the first job that really was offered to him, honestly. Because why not go to Atlanta? Why
Well,
not go? Go
that's
ahead.
the thing. I think he went to his comfort zone. I think Rex
No.
Ryan. Here's the thing. This is the way. And this is where I used to love Rex. And to me, he went back to his comfort zone. He's going back to a place where the defense is already made. Why would you not go to Atlanta that you already have a good quarterback and all you got to do is step in and just be able to work the defense and be able to have a winning team?
Because I don't think Rex went to his comfort zone. I think, like I said, I think Rex went to the first place that offered him the job, like outright said, "Listen, we want you to be our coach." Atlanta didn't offer him the job, or else he would have took it. Because why go to the Bills? They have a terrible offense. I mean, they don't have a terrible offense. They have pieces, but that quarterback situation is trash. He literally traded himself into the same situation. You have this
So
very good defense with pieces offensively. They have wide receivers that are very solid with
sure.
Woods and Sammy Watkins and all these
Right.
things, but they don't have a quarterback at
Well,
all. So,
let me ask you this: is
mhm,
when you're Rex Ryan, you hear all the criticism. You hear, hey, you're not an offensive type of guy.
mhm.
You've all the quarterbacks you've had, they've always regressed. They've never progressed in the positions. Um, so first offer that comes to the table is the Buffalo job. Do you not sit back and say, I need to put myself in a better situation. I got to just hold on and wait a little bit more.
No, because I don't. I honestly think that if he hadn't take that Buffalo job, the other jobs that he would have gotten wouldn't have been as attractive. He would have probably ended up either with Oakland or somewhere else. I'm telling you,
Don't give me
no, I'm
Oakland
telling.
Raiders. Oakland
Yeah,
Raiders. I would take the Raiders. They have someone in the quarterback position that's at least a little bit more promising than the Buffalo Bills.
yeah, but you can. Yeah, but they don't have the pieces that Buffalo has, and they don't have the defense that Buffalo has either. Why would you go to the Raiders if you can go to Buffalo, where at least on one side of the ball they're pretty solid? They're
Oh,
very solid, actually. Why would you go to the Raiders? The Raiders, only thing that the Raiders have, I mean, the Raiders have a promising future, but that doesn't mean that it's going to deliver.
I
That's
don't.
why I'm telling you. He didn't go to his comfort zone. I'm telling you, he did not go to his comfort zone. Rex wanted to go to another team. I honestly believe that he wanted to go to Chicago. That's where he talked about wanting to go to Chicago.
I
They
don't
didn't
think
offer him the
Chicago wanted
job.
him.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
didn't want him. So that's what
yeah.
I'm telling you is that he went to Buffalo. He
To
went to
your
Buffalo because that's who offered him a job first. That's it. If somebody else would have offered it to him first, if Atlanta would have said, "Look, we want you to coach here," when he came there, he would be in Atlanta right now. You have Matt Ryan. For Rex to pass up Atlanta, that would literally be idiotic. He
that is
already would
stupid.
have a ready-made offense. He does not have to touch. All he has to do is literally put some court. He could put Roman over there with that offense, and it's going to produce. And all he'd have to do is build and fix that defense. He built and fixed the defense with us.
No,
Our
I agree with
defense
that.
was trash,
I
complete
agree with that.
trash. So, no, he didn't go to his comfort zone. No, he didn't want to wait because I honestly believe that if he would have waited, there'd be a possibility that he wouldn't be coaching this year in the NFL unless he wanted to be a defensive coordinator, and he doesn't want to do that. He wants to be a head coach. The Niners hired their coordinator and moved him up, and now hired their assistant. He was like a coach somewhere within their thing. I think he was like the defensive line coach or something like that. They brought him up. The Bears didn't want him. Atlanta didn't want him either. I don't even think he interviewed or even talked to the Raiders at all before they got Jack Del Rio. So the only thing that you could even logically
He
think
did
about
interview.
was,
He did
did he
kind of interview,
interview?
right? He did. No, he interviewed for the Niners, not the
Uh,
Raiders.
yeah, I think he interviewed. I think he went and talked to the Niners too. He
Yeah,
went and
yeah.
talked to the Niners too, and they still went with their own guy from inside of their facility. So that tells you
R-
right there that his days were numbered.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Right off the bat, though, I knew the Atlanta Falcons wouldn't have gotten him. The reason why I say that is, I don't know. I spent some time in Atlanta, and Arthur Blank, he's just that type of guy where he wants like good guys on his team, and sometimes he makes I don't know, all the coaches that he has, they've been like charity givers and opposite of what Rex Ryan is. So he takes those interviews really seriously. So I really didn't think he was going to get that Atlanta job. Um, Go ahead.
yeah, well, I think the chips fell where they did, and Rex just said, you know what, the Bills, they offered me a job, and they're a solid team. They have a solid defense. They could have a solid offense. I just got to find another quarterback.
Yeah,
That's it. And I think, like I said, I just think he took the job that was offered to him.
man, the AFC East is going to be hot next year.
You know, I mean, the Patriots are always going to be the Patriots. They're always going to be good. I mean, at least as long as Tom Brady is there.
Yeah,
We have to see what Rex does with the Bills. The Finns, I don't know about them. I
that's
mean,
a poor decision though of Rick's, because if you sit there and think about it, and I'm sorry I can't get over the subject,
no,
but
go ahead. I know you're not going to get over it.
because here's the thing: is you sit there and you're making a career decision. Like let's just say you and I are going out there trying to get a 9 to 5 job or whatever the case might be. We sit there and evaluate certain things, and when you're a Rex, you got to look at it. You're like, well, which division is tougher right now? I wouldn't want to be in the AFC East. You got and I'll kind of clarify this. You got the Patriots that's obviously just won the Super Bowl, and they're not going to uh, be worse than a 10-6 probably next year. And then you got the Miami Dolphins with Tannehill, and he's improved almost every year. And Miami has always had a good defense. And then you got a New York Jets team that obviously right now is struggling. But I think we're putting the right pieces into place. But then you could be looking at, and I don't want to keep going back to the Oakland Raiders situation, but if you take that into a perspective, you're looking at a Denver Broncos team that's really confused. I mean, with the whole Peyton Manning situation, because I don't think Peyton Manning at the most is probably going to get you 10-6 or 11-5. It won't be as strong as the AFC East. You got the Kansas City Chiefs that I don't know. I can't read the Chiefs right now. Depending what they give you year to year, and the San Diego Chargers have always been mediocre to say the least for the past. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I would sit there and kind of evaluate a lot of those things, and I don't know. I
Well,
don't think it was the right career decision for Rex Ryan.
I don't think it was. Like I said, and I'll say it again. I don't think it was like a. I don't think it was a bad decision at all. But I also, like I said, I think it was a decision that he made because if he does not coach the Bills, he's not going to coach anywhere else. That's factual.
I just hate to see him
But
play twice.
yeah, but when, yeah, but when you look at that Bills decision, though, it's not a bad decision. He's got a hell of a defense there. Like
No, that's true.
he's got one hell of a defense. That's factual. The offense is, if he can get it to produce, which it has weapons there to produce, then he'll be fine. Why would you go to a Raiders team where you're literally having to build it from the ground? The only thing that they have with the Raiders that is solid, that you know for a fact is going to be there, is Carr. That's it, because he showed a lot of promise as a rookie. Outside of that, there's a lot of pieces on that Raiders, I mean that entire team, that you could get rid of. A lot of their stars, like Charles Woodson, and a lot of those guys are old. Those guys aren't in your future plans. You know, a lot of the Raiders are. They're not in shambles because they have cap money and they do have draft picks. But you're starting over from damn near ground zero with them. And why would you want to go to the AFC West? You can say that Peyton Manning, you don't know what's wrong with it. Peyton Manning will come to your house and blow the doors off. He'll put up 50 on you, and you can tell your grandma about it. I'm serious. He will crush you. He will crush you, and you'll be playing him twice every year with a mediocre team, and he's going to beat the crap out of you. The Chiefs, you don't have to read them because they're going to read you. As long as Jamal Charles wakes up in the morning and gets to the stadium, you're going to have a problem to deal with. The same thing with the Chargers. I mean, I'm not saying he has an easy road here in the East, but like I said, when you look at the Bills have a promising future. You know, he's a defensive guy. Look at that defense, solid. And you're getting Kiko Alonso back next year. That guy's a monster. Okay, he was a rookie of the year, came back, tore his ACL. He didn't play at all last season, and they were still very good. So he's coming back with Mario Williams and Kiko Alonso. You got those two studs up front, too, those two stud D tackles. He's got a lot of weapons there. He's just got to figure out how to get that offense to produce and get a quarterback in there. And you can get a guy that's a game manager, because there's guys that are game managers that are out there, and he can bring them in there and get something done there. And that's just that with Rex. So, like I said, it was either the Bills or you were going to be a talking head on ESPN. That's it. And he knew that.
Yeah. Let's jump into Mike McKagan. Out of Todd Bowles and Mike McKagan, I am really impressed with Mike. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that guy speak during the introduction, during the scouting in the combine or whatever the case might be. He's just a well-spoken, confident, knows what he's talking about. But yet, none of these guys have proven these things because we haven't seen it into the season. So I don't want to sit here and hype them up more than they're supposed to. But I really like Mike. What's your take on Mike McKagan?
I like Mike McKagan. I think that he's going to be a solid GM here. I think. I think what I like a lot more about Mike McKagan than I did about John Idzik is that Mike McKagan actually has a scouting background. He was the VP of scouting with the Texans. And he knows the draft. He's a guy that can evaluate talent, can bring guys in to evaluate talent. The first thing he did when he came in, he cleaned out the entire scouting department. Terry Bradway and all the rest of those bums got to go, and they're gone. So that tells you right there. This is a new time and a new day, and it's all about accountability. So I'm really waiting to see three things. I'm waiting to see three things out of Mike McKagan as a GM. I want to see how he deals with Piercy Harvin. Also want to see how he deals with getting Muhammad Wilkerson deal done, and I also want to see how he deals with the draft this year. That's what I want to see out of Mike McKagan. Those things are going to play into his legacy here as far as being a GM. But, again, that's just another wait and see. But I think it's a guy that, just from his credentials, if you look at his resume, he looked like he's built to be here. That's something that John Idzik just didn't have. John Idzik took Woody for a ride, and Woody bought it. Woody bought his crap. Absolutely bought it. That guy had no scouting background whatsoever. He was a guy that was a cap guy that knew how to count beans in the back corner of some room with 3 calculators. I don't care about that if you don't know football. And he didn't know football. This was the guy that took, Calvin Pryor in the box strong safety when we had a bunch of in the box strong safeties. Instead of taking a free safety, a range safety, a guy that could actually cover tight ends like he should have. That was a bad pick, and there's no excuse for stuff like that. He also did a lot of other stuff in the draft. He was drafting injury-prone players, taking McDougal in the 3rd round. That guy was injury-prone. Yeah, he was injured his entire time in college. And then you bring him to the league, he tears his ACL before he can even start. So that whole regime's over. I'm glad that, like I said, I'm glad we got Mike McKagan in here. This is a guy that I think is going to help turn this franchise around. But those 3 things that I talked about earlier are really going to tell about his legacy here.
What I love about this whole new team that has come in the front office is I can wake up and not worry about being on the headlines. I can wake up and not worry about you feeding a story to the New York Post or you feeding a story to the ESPN. This is a new regime where we can be more under the radar a little bit. I kind of got tired of the whole always coming out there saying we're the best and we can't really back it up on the field. So I'm really, really, ecstatic about that. So, or next topic. If you have nothing else to say about that, I can move on to the next topic. About, do you feel like Woody Johnson, did he redeem himself?
Redeem himself with the fans?
Redeem himself with good decision making. Because he was under a lot of criticism, 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, because he's stupid. That's why he's under a lot of criticism, because he's stupid. It's not. He was under a lot of criticism before that. I mean, did Woody redeem himself? Did he do what a good owner should have done? Yeah, go hire people because you don't know what you're doing. Okay,
exactly.
Fine. Well, go hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Fine. But do I think that Woody won't still do stupid stuff or say stupid things? I don't know, because this is the same guy that brought Tim Tebow here. This was the same guy. It's just like, let's be serious here. Woody did what he did because the fans were threatening to, not pay for PCL or PSL, to default on their tickets. That's why he did that. He did that because the fan base stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to pay for this crap anymore, and we're not going to deal with it. We're not going to hear you, we're not going to let you do these dumb things and put this team on the back pages like you want every single time and not win. We're not going to pay for that. We're not going to pay to come here and watch this team suck and watch you ruin this team. So, is he redeemed? I don't know, man. We've got to start winning. And then I don't even think he should be. I've always felt like owners should never be, bigger than the franchise, or that's not even bigger than the franchises. I don't think Woody's bigger than the franchise. I just don't think you should always know much about them. As he shouldn't have so much control or so much, hands on the franchise if he doesn't actually knows what he's doing. It's just like Dan Snyder up there, with the Redskins. That's some of the same thing that Woody was doing. Woody was telling guys, go get this guy, go get that guy, and he didn't know what he was doing. So it's like, did he redeem himself? Like I said, I don't know if he redeemed himself, but I know he did the right thing, just hiring guys to get guys in here that know football.
In Woody's defense, and I agree with about a lot of what you said there about him stepping in and try to do things where he doesn't belong. But he is in New York. He is under the bigger spotlight. I mean, but it's amazing. Like I said this in my last video, it's amazing how the Giants, but you don't ever hear about the Giants owners.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Yeah, but my thing is, like, I understand that he's in New York and he's under the spotlight, but wouldn't that make you even more hesitant to say and do stupid stuff if you're under a spotlight? Just like when he got tampering files charged against him.
Yeah, that was really dumb.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, Woody, shut up. Like, Woody, just shut up, dude. Like, just shut up. Because everything he says doesn't make sense. Like, he backpedals out of stuff, like when he was saying, "Oh, well, I thought we should have got Revis back," and blah blah blah, which again got the charges filed upon him. But at the same time, it's like, bro, when you wanted Revis gone, he was gone. If you wanted him back, that would have happened. That's factual. It would have happened. You didn't really want him back. You didn't want to have anything to do with him. You let John Idzik talk you into this stuff. So just shut up. It's the same thing he said when Tim Tebow came here and he didn't work out. All of a sudden, he didn't know anything about it. I just want Woody to shut up and fall into the background and let the guys that he hired, his head coach, and his front office, and those other coaches, offensive coordinators, let these guys do their job and just fall back. No one should know too much about you. So exactly. I'm just glad that that's finally happening.
No, I agree. So here we go. Let's kind of get into the quarterback position for the New York Jets. Obviously, it's another year where there's more puzzles, more every year going to next season. I don't know who my franchise quarterback is. That's everyday news for us. Now, my question to you is, should we go for the quarterback position? Should we, go the draft route? Should we go the free agents route, or is Geno Smith or Guy? My take on it is, I hate everything there is about Geno Smith. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
There were games where I felt like he just threw an interception just to throw it so he can go sit on the bench.
Mhm.
That's how I felt about it. The way I want to see it happen, I don't want to go through the draft. I don't like the draft class. I don't like none of the, Winston. I don't like Marcus Mariota. I'm not big on any of these quarterbacks. One guy that I want to pursue in the free agency, well, actually two guys. One of them is going to be Brian Hoyer. I like Brian Hoyer. I think he's going to come in there, give us an okay season. He's going to give us what Mark Sanchez gave us our first 2 years with Rex Ryan. He's not going to be an amazing quarterback, but obviously there's going to be certain pieces we need to be able to give to Brian Hoyer for us to be able to do that. Or the other one's going to be Ryan Mallett. I believe he plays for the Texans. Those are the two guys that I like to have a little bit of experience, just for us to kind of, as we're rebuilding, for us to be able to be relevant. I think these are the guys for us to be able to do that. Because if you're going to go ahead and draft a quarterback and place him into the New York Jets team right now that has a terrible secondary, that the wide receivers besides Percy Harvin and maybe Curley. Everybody else hasn't been consistent because Decker wasn't consistent the entire year until the last game was against the Miami Dolphins. And in a running game that, thank goodness, we got rid of Chris Johnson, but a running game that hasn't really proven itself either with Chris Ivory. So I think that is the route to go. Go with someone that's experienced. Go with someone that's been in the league. Go with someone that doesn't have to go through the entire rebuilding. What's your take on that, Joe?
Yeah, I can agree with you on the fact that I don't think that we should draft a quarterback. I think we have more pressing needs. I think, and I know we'll probably talk about the draft later on as well, but my thing is that I think we should trade down in the draft and gather picks for the future. I don't like Mariota. I think he's soft.
Yeah,
I've said that a
that's
thousand
exactly
times.
how I feel. That's exactly how I feel.
I think he's soft, and I've seen a lot of things that he's done that I just don't like. I think that Winston is the better talent. I think he's the better pro prospect. I think he's got all the tools to make throws and do everything in NFL, but he is a nut job. He is a head case. He was out of shape when he came back from the suspension. And lo and behold, he's out of shape again going into the NFL. You can't do those things. But outside of that, he just does a lot of things off the field that are just crazy. Like he's really crazy. He's really a crazy person.
Just imagine New York media is going to rip him apart.
Exactly, and that's what I was about to say. The New York media would absolutely destroy him. They would follow him around with a camera all day and night, and the stories would literally write themselves. He's crazy. Oh, totally. You can't bring him here and expect him to succeed because it's just not going to happen. So I think with that, outside of that, the rest of the quarterbacks is a major drop off. I think that we have to get a stopgap guy. I understand Hoyer. I understand Mallett. I don't necessarily like Mallett that much because I think that Mallett, everyone talks about he has all these, he has the tools, he has this, but he's never beaten out anybody to be a starter. If he has all these, he's got all these, all the stuff that he's got, and it's always potential with him, potential. Well, potential to me means you haven't done it yet. That's all that means. And you've been here long enough to get it done, you haven't. Two guys that I'm looking at is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Number 2 is Sam Bradford. That's who I want. And actually, I'll add a number 3. Number 3, you're right, and I'm going to tell you how to solve that in just 1 second. And my number 3 guy, because I got 3 quarterbacks, my number 3 guy is Colt McCoy. I think Colt McCoy, I'll start with Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy is extremely smart. He doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. I think he was slided in a lot of places, especially with the Browns. They didn't really give him too much of a chance. He had no wide receivers there whatsoever. He ended up bouncing around after that. You saw he did a couple things with the Redskins this year when he beat the Cowboys. I think he can be a very solid, just a game manager, not a guy that's going to wow you. He's not going to blow the doors off. Like I said, he doesn't have the biggest arm. but he's a stopgap guy, a guy that's going to be able to come in, compete with Geno, because I think that Geno's going to be here regardless. We're not going to cut Geno. For all the fans that are listening and hoping that we just get rid of Geno tomorrow, that's not going to happen, okay? He's going to be here next year. That's factual. And you don't have to get rid of him either, because we still need a backup quarterback, a guy that can come in and win some games in case something crazy happens, to our starter. So that's one thing, is I think he'll compete and probably win the job. Sam Bradford, is he injury prone? Yes, he's injury prone. But you know how you fix that? You put an offensive line in front of him. That's why I said we trade down in the draft. We got the number 6 pick. Somebody's willing to mortgage their future. If Winston or Mariota drops, please do. I've heard rumors about Cleveland. I've heard rumors about the Eagles wanting to trade up. I think the Eagles thing is a smokescreen. But I think that Cleveland might be real. If Cleveland wants to give up 2 first-rounders for Mariota, please do. We can trade down, draft one of these big offensive linemen that are here in the draft, because the draft is packed with very solid offensive linemen. And you put a line in front of Sam Bradford, because when Bradford has had, time and he's been able to do things, you've seen flashes where you think this kid really is a franchise quarterback.
But he's coming off an injury. He's coming off an injury, Joe, and it's like to me, that is the biggest risk you can take as a New York Jets franchise right now. I think to go with him, but I can see where you're coming from, because when he's healthy, the guy is good. I'm not going to sit here and argue that with you. But what is it? Two back-to-back torn ACLs, right?
I think it was something like that. He's had 2 season-ending injuries. Yeah. I mean, out of all these quarterbacks, I mean, Brian Hoyer, he sucks. Like we can sit here. He got beat out by Johnny Manziel. He didn't look good. He looked really bad last year. He just looked really bad. I mean, he had a solid start, but then things just fell apart. So I mean, if
but
you
Cleveland
look at
didn't have much of an offensive line to begin with.
I mean, Cleveland, they don't have the worst offensive line.
Not as bad as St. Louis.
I'm about to say, whoa,
I don't want to be a quarterback of the Rams.
I just like Sam Bradford's upside, and I think that if you can keep him healthy, but he is made of glass. That's factual. But if you can keep him healthy and put an offensive line in front of him and doesn't get him blasted, man, he's amazing. And last but not least, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick is just a guy I think is a stopgap guy, a guy that is smart. He can play in this league. He knows what he's doing. As long as he doesn't go out there and do a bunch of stupid stuff and throw a bunch of interceptions, then we'll be fine. Yeah,
I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's something I didn't technically think about, but I like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm. And you just got to bring guys in, because, like I said, Geno's still going to be here. You're going to have to get a guy that's going to be able to mentor and push Geno as well. Another guy that can do that is Jake Locker. Jake Locker, but he's another guy that I don't think that can stay healthy, but he would be an option. But like I said, my 3 guys that I named, those are the guys that I'm pulling for.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what do you think about the Jets, speaking to Josh McCown? Because I don't like Josh McCown. What's up?
Yeah, I think that's all it was. We just spoke to him. Hi, you want a cup of coffee? Like that's it. Josh McCown isn't a guy that wows me at all. I think it's all just doing your due diligence. You just kicking the tires on everyone, bro. I'm serious. If let me tell you something. If Trent Dilfer can still play and he can clean it up, and we think he can get us some wins, I'll take Trent Dilfer right now. You know what I mean?
We took Brett Favre.
Yeah, yeah. You kick the tires on every single player you can. When you look at our quarterback position in shambles, the first thing, no one is committed. Not even Chan Gailey has committed to Geno Smith being the starter here. No one.
No, nobody.
Okay? Yeah. So it's like let's
not even Geno himself.
Exactly. So let's just do our due diligence. You bring every guy in and talk to him and see what you can get out of him. That's just it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's see what else I got. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them.
Oh no, yeah.
Right. Man, I'm just so glad we're able to do this. I was starting to lose hope. I was like, oh man, I waited the whole day. I gotta. Okay. All right, let's touch on the free agency overall with the players. So we can get into the draft a little bit, and then right off the bat, what do you think about Cromartie coming back? Maybe And I'm not really going to get into Revis because honestly, I think he's going to re-sign with the New England Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are going to allow him to kind of leave or anything. And if he does go anywhere, I still think because of Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills, I think that might be a destination spot for him as well. Um, and then obviously over ties with him. But if I had to pick, as silly as this may sound, just because of the price, I think it'll be much cheaper to get Cromartie in here. I liked Cromartie's performance. He wasn't as much of a shutdown corner as Revis was. There was a lot of times he got beat deep, but I think his connection with Todd Bowles and him coming in, bringing some experience to our younger defensive backs. Hopefully, Milner will be a little bit healthier next year. I think bringing in Cromartie would be a wise decision, maybe a one-year deal. It can kind of turn into what Charles Woodson did for the Oakland Raiders, since we already talked about the Raiders earlier. What's your take on Cromartie coming to the Jets?
Yeah, I love it. I love that re-signing. I'd love to bring him back and sign him. I think he's, like you said, the cheaper of the two, and I think he'd get us a solid shot. Let me address this Revis stuff really quickly, okay?
Go ahead.
A lot of fans, for whatever reason, I also have a Twitter. It's YoungJ000 for everyone that does hit me up on Twitter for whatever reason. And they want to talk about Revis every single day. Let's talk about Revis. Bring him back to the team. No, no, and no. Okay? Revis is going to ask for $15 to $16 million a year. That's factual, okay?
Yeah, it's too much.
The only reason he's even entertaining or even talking about us or anything with his agent is to use us as leverage to get more than that from certain teams. Okay, that's factual. So he's not even on my brain. I'm not interested in going down that road again. I'm not interested in paying as much for him because we have other holes on this team that are much greater that we can use our cap money to fix. And we don't need that for one player because with what you pay Revis for one season, you could get 3 starters and just 3 guys in there to fill holes on your team to be role guys. So I don't have time for Revis. So that issue is done in my brain. Cromartie would be a good signing. Another guy that I like is Walter Thurman. Very good, solid corner. I'd like to see what he brings. Kareem Jackson was a guy that was out there as well. I don't know where he is right now with the Texans. I know he's trying to work out a deal with him as well. But those are 3 guys that I look at that I say, hey, if we can get one of those guys, especially Cromartie or Thurman, that would definitely bolster our secondary and make it a lot better. So I like that signing. I definitely do. With the health of D. Milner and McDougal, we definitely have to concentrate on corners this offseason.
It's definitely a make it or break it year for D. Milner. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is, but I think he was almost set up to fail because even when we draft, he's never been healthy. He's never been healthy. So even his time here in the league, he's never been healthy. He was never healthy in college either. So it is a make it or break it year, but I mean, when he's on the field, he's a pretty damn good corner. Like he's pretty damn good. But
I kind of like Brandon Flowers too.
Yeah.
As a cornerback, so that's a fresh new face, maybe a signing there. Kind of getting to the signings a little bit more and the draft pick. What's going to happen with Percy Harvin? What do you think?
I think that there's no realistic option with Harvin. We have to keep him. That's factual. Like I think they're going to try to bring his cap number down, but I don't think there's anything that they can do about that because he has all the leverage, all of it. If you say you want to cut him, that's fine because he never wanted to come here to begin with. So we traded to get him. For those of you that don't know the backstory of him in Seattle, Seattle offered him around the league. They tried to offer him to the Broncos for Julius Thomas, and the Broncos told them to kick rocks. They went around the league and tried to trade him off to other people, and they were just going to cut him. John Idzik made that trade because John Idzik panicked because he knew everything he had done in the draft. He had brought no talent to the team, so
what was it? Week 8? Week 8?
Yeah, like week 7. Yeah, week 7. I think it was. Might have been week 8.
Now, John.
Yeah. We were long done after that, and he went and made the trade because he knew if Harvin had hit the open market, he was not coming here. So yeah, we did get a $10 million tab, but at the same time, we also got a wide receiver that stretches the field. I remember what the offense looked like when he wasn't there, and it was terrible. It was very vanilla. You could sit on all of our routes. You didn't have any guy you had to be afraid of. Well, that's what Harvin brings to this team. You got to account for him every single time, or it's going to be a touchdown. That's factual. Go
It's
ahead.
amazing. It's amazing how the New York media, the first 2 weeks Percy Harvin got here, started like, saying, man, it was a bad trade, and I'm like, the guy's only been with the team for a week and a half. Like,
Yeah.
what chemistry is there between him and the quarterback? And the quarterback, basically two quarterbacks, Michael Vick and Geno Smith. So I like Percy Harvin. I think if you're gonna keep Harvin, that should be it for the wide receiver position. Just for the fact that I really don't see it necessary for us to go out there and maybe get another free agent like Demetri Thomas or because we're committed to Curley. We just signed him to a 3-year deal.
Hmm.
Obviously, we're committed to Decker, and then I think Percy Harvin is going to be our number one slot if we maintain him, and then Decker can be the number 2 wide receiver, however that works. Um, I know we talked about this last time, and I won't bring it up again, but I think you're already laughing, but for the draft, I really like Cooper. I really want to go after a wide receiver. That's if we don't keep Percy Harvin. That's the way I want to go about it.
Can I ask you? This is why I don't like, and again, I've been tweeted about this. Young J 000. If anybody else wants to tweet me about stuff like this, um, my thing is that I think that we already have 4 wide receivers in my brain. Okay, you have Decker. Okay, my hands up. You got Decker. You got Curley. You got Harvin, and you got Jason Morrow. Jason Morrow is a really good receiving tight end. He's actually the best rookie tight end that this year that he came out. Okay, he also had more catches and yards than
Mara
any.
had some come on moments last year. I hope you
Yeah,
know that.
every rookie does, bro. Every
I,
rookie does. Okay, name one rookie that don't. Like
oh, no.
that's factual. Name one rookie that don't. But he only had like 3 or 4 plays in the entire offense, and he had more yards and catches than any tight end in the league. He also made the All Rookie team. He is a very good receiving threat. The reason why you're saying that is because you didn't see him on the field much. He wasn't out there making many plays because Marty Morningwig had no clue of how to use him. So if you figure out how to use him, because he's a matchup nightmare. The dude's like 6'7" or 6'6" or something like that.
Yeah.
He's huge and he's fast and he gets everywhere when he knows where he's supposed to be going. So there's our other receiver. Why do we have to commit so much money? Why do we have to commit a draft pick to Amari Cooper, dude? Why? We have that already. You can honestly, if every Jet fan is so enamored with getting another damn receiver in here, here's one for you. His name is Andre Holmes. He plays for the Oakland Raiders. He's a very good wide receiver, I believe. He's big. He's a big target. He's fast. He runs solid routes, and he's not going to cost you that much because he's under the radar. So if you want a wide receiver so bad, go sign him. We don't need another wide receiver. We need an offensive lineman. We need a corner. We need a linebacker. We need a safety. That's what we need more
Oh,
than a wide
totally. Yeah,
receiver.
totally.
So no, I don't want to go with Amari Cooper at number 6. I don't because
Who,
we go ahead.
go ahead. Who's your number one pick then? What position?
Oh, my number one pick is Brandon Sheriff. That's my number one pick. But I want to trade down. I
Yeah.
want to absolutely trade down. That's it. I'm trading down and I'm gathering picks for the future. And I'm going O-line this entire first round because you know what? Offensive linemen are your surest bet in the draft. Okay, that's factual.
How do
You
you
can.
think Abushi performed this year?
I think Odea Boucher was okay, but I think we can get an upgrade at the position. I think he was okay.
I
Don't
think
get
for
me
his
wrong.
rookie year, coming
Yeah.
stepping in, maybe 5 games left. I thought he did well. One guy, Ferguson, he drove me nuts last year with all those penalties. He drove me crazy. I'm telling you, how many times did you see him? 5 yard for a penalty because at the line or whatever. So
You
that
mean
guy
like
just drives me
Willie?
crazy.
Yeah, I think you mean like Willie Colon because
What
Willie
is was
Colon
it
was
Willie?
the
Yeah, it's
guy.
Willie Colon. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Willie Colon.
Willie Colon was the guy that was getting all those penalties last year. But the thing about
It's Willie.
Willie Colon is gone. That's why I'm telling you. We need an
Yeah.
offensive line. You left tackle, you got the Brigishaw Ferguson. Your left guard is Winners. He's trash. He needs to go. So that's a hole at left guard. Center, Nick Mangold. Right guard is Ode Abushi. But guess what? You can upgrade at that position. He's not terrible, but he's not great. And then you got Brino. Brino is a liability at right tackle if I've ever seen one. You can have an average speed rusher and they'll get around him. That dude is a turnstile, okay? That's all he is. So we got a hole at left guard, and right tackle. You can solve that in this draft because there's so many good offensive linemen. Trade down. Get picks for the future and get an offensive lineman in here. If you want, like I said, Brandon Sheriff is my first pick. We can go other places with that too. Andrews Pete, Laurel Collins, T.J.
Brandon
Clemens.
Sheriff is from Iowa, right?
Yes, he is. 6'5", 319. I know the numbers by heart. This dude, he's a monster. He's a monster, and we need to bring him in here.
What do you think about Eric Flowers from Miami?
I think Eric Flowers can be solid as well. There's a lot of names. Eric Flowers would be solid. Cameron Irving, I think, is going to be solid as well. We could probably get him in the second round. Jake Fisher. Yeah. There's so many guys that I think are solid guys that could be brought in here. But we don't need to waste a first-round pick, especially not in this draft with all the needs that we have. We don't need to waste it on a position of strength. I mean, why get a wide receiver? You're just stockpiling. We might as well get a defensive end, too, if we stockpiling. We already have that. We already have a solid.
I hope we sign Wilkerson.
Yeah.
Wilkerson is a must because him and Sherman, I mean, we're talking about, the sack exchange making a comeback, Go ahead.
I'm just saying, let's fans, let's be smart. Let's not stockpile picks, okay? Or stockpile guys in positions that are already a position of strength. Let's get needs and let's get guys in here to perform.
One guy I really like, and depending on what we get in the free agency, but one guy that kind of, because I'm a USC guy and I watch Pac-12 a lot. One guy that kind of struck out with me was Alex Carter from Stanford. If that's a person we would like to go out and maybe get in the draft. Moving on. Let's see what else we got. I think that's really kind of what I have as far as my questions are concerned. But no, I hope we get Muhammad Wilkerson back for next year. I really like him. The other guy that we've been linked to, and I for the first time I really like this link, is C.J. Spiller. I think he can bring a little bit more diversity in the backfield for us. He's a speedy type of running back compared to what Chris Ivory can bring to the table. And then the other thing with C.J. Spiller is, he can catch the ball as well. So I don't know. What's your take on that, Joe?
No, I don't think we should sign him. I think there's other guys out there. I mean, he wouldn't be a bad signing, but there's this guy in Atlanta. His name is Anton Smith, and I know that most people don't know too much about him, but he is. I thought you were going to say
Jacquizz Rodgers.
No, not Jacquizz Rodgers. His name is Anton Smith. Anton Smith was the guy that was underutilized there. He's a guy that is explosive. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run as well. He reminds me a lot of a faster, stronger Leon Washington, to bring it into our context as Jets fans. That's exactly what he is. A faster, stronger Leon Washington. Also, another guy that I think no one's really talking about, and I've talked about him in the past on the radio show on Let's Talk Jets every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, is Roy Halou. Roy Halou is a guy that no one's really talking about that can do everything that we would need in a running back here. He would be a change of pace back. He's a guy that can swing out the backfield. He can block. He can catch balls out the backfield, too, and he's a matchup nightmare for linebackers. And I think that if you were to put him and Harvin on the field at the same time, man, you would see our offense would open up. It would absolutely open up, and that would help our quarterback because whoever's our quarterback next year, let's be frank about this. We're not going to get a world beater in here, whether it's Geno or Colt McCoy or whoever. So you're not going to have a guy in place that's going to wow you talent-wise. So what do you do with quarterbacks like that? You surround them with talent so that it's like throwing
They
it.
take approach well.
Exactly. It's throwing to guys that are almost wide open because these guys are so talented. So you must surround them with talent. And I think that that's what we have to do this year. I think C.J. Spiller is a solid guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a bad running back. He has a lot of injury concerns, though.
That's true.
And he can never really stay healthy. And I think we would get more bang for our buck, like I said, if we went after Anton Smith or Roy Halou.
You know, I'll tell you one thing, and I want to know what your take on this is, and something I can't believe we didn't talk about, but Gailey as our offensive coordinator. I'm a little iffy about him. I don't know, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm a little. I thought we could bring in maybe a little bit more of a fresher mind than him, but I think what Gailey can bring to the table is a little bit more experience. I mean, he's been around a lot of quarterbacks in the league. What's your take on Gailey?
I think Chan Gailey is. I mean, he's been out of football for a little bit.
Yeah.
His offenses, when I watched him with the Bills, they weren't. I mean, they weren't bad. He got Ryan Fitzpatrick to perform.
That's true.
He's another kind of wait and see guy. I don't think he sucks. I think I'm not in love with the pick. I wasn't in love with when I read that that's who Todd Bowles wanted to bring in, but we could have done a lot worse. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
That's true. Yeah.
We could have done a lot worse, especially with
I
our
made a
history.
typical New York Jets decision, bro.
It's-
Tebow might have been the offensive coordinator for all we know.
Exactly.
You know what I
It's
mean?
it's just like, so Chan is a guy, if you read a lot about him and you read a lot about his offensive system, it's a system that, basically gets players in space and allows them to maximize on their talent to make plays. Which is why, bringing in Spiller he probably is one of his things. He wants to get the guy in here because, he's fast and he can make all these plays. So I think it's kind of a wait and see thing with him as well. And we'll see what he brings to the table. But like I said, I'm not in love with it, but I definitely think we could have done a lot worse.
Yeah. No, from the type of season that we had this year, it was a dreadful season. I'm just kind of glad that we're making the right decision so far. I think Mike McKagan, he's going to be able to bring really good evaluations to the team. So whatever decision that we kind of go forward with, I feel a little bit more, I feel like we're in good hands compared to what we had with John Idzik. So, man, I can't wait for next season. It just feels like so far away. But that's really all I have for my questions. Is there anything you want to discuss, kind of get into? Because that's kind of what I got.
Oh, I was just kind of wondering what you thought about our safety position. Are there any guys that you're looking at free agency wise for our safeties?
Well, I actually have. Let me pull up this list. I have a list that I wrote down. Because here's the thing: is no matter how I sit there and kind of look at, Pryor, man. I mean, you want to talk about a huge disappointment that year.
Mm-hmm.
There really isn't anyone that kind of strikes me. And to be very frank with you, I haven't given that much thought for the safety position. I thought, maybe we can go out to one person that I do see is probably Antro Roll, but that's really about it. For some reason, I want to still keep Landry. I hope maybe we can sign him to one more year. He's just a hard hitter. But Pryor, I tell you what, man, you want to talk about? That was our first draft pick, wasn't it, last year?
Yeah, he was our first round pick.
I mean, I expected so much out of him. Like, I was like, he's gonna be, oh my God, but no, nothing.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't see.
There was so many coverages last year, and for a guy that it's not I don't know everything there is about football, but I can tell you if I was a cornerback and he was supposed to help me out, on a coverage, I would not trust that guy whatsoever. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'd look over my shoulders because he's just plain stupid. That's what Pryor is. It's not about physical ability here. It's about mental, and he just didn't. He couldn't read coverages worth of nothing. He gave up, a lot of bad plays, a lot of big plays. Whether it was the Packers game, and I'll tell you what, that Packers game had a lot to do with our season. If we would have been able to come out of that Packers game 2-0, I'm not going to sit here where we're going to go to the playoffs, but we started the season with a bang. It wasn't an impressive win against the Oakland Raiders, but we went in Lambeau. We were up 14-0, were we not? Was it
Yeah,
14-0? And we
yeah.
gave up that game had a lot to do with our season, and Pryor had a lot to do with it in that game. And to me, the fact that Pryor's still on this team, and I know we're not going to release him because it's a first round pick, but the fact that Pryor's still on this team, it irks me so much.
I think he was brought in to do exactly what he did. I think Pryor is out of position. I think he plays out of position. He's not a free safety in the league. He's a strong safety, in the box strong safety. If you watch his college tape, the same thing that I saw in the league is the exact same thing that I saw out of him in college. He's a big hitter, but the thing about being a big hitter is you let the guy catch the ball. A lot of his actual hits were illegal in the NFL. You can't do this helmet-to-helmet stuff in the NFL. You can't do it. So he is what he is. If you watch his tape, like his highlights, none of that stuff is in coverage. He's not doing anything in coverage. And then when you watched him, he would blow coverages in college too. He had issues with covering guys. So
Correct me if I'm wrong. Brian Dawkins was a free safety, right?
yes, he is. Yes, he was.
And I thought Brian Dawkins played that position. I mean, you want to talk about hard hits, you want to talk about coverage, you want to talk about hands. I thought Brian Dawkins was, he provided that.
Yeah,
But no,
go ahead.
does Pryor succeed in this strong safety if we were to switch him?
I think you have to switch him because he has no coverage ability. He just don't have it. Like Brian Dawkins, comparing
No, I agree
Brian
with you.
Dawkins, to Calvin Pryor is like comparing
No.
Josh McCown to Tom Brady. Like they just don't have the same.
No, there's no comparison. It was just a matter of just saying who plays that position the way it needs to be played.
Yeah.
No way.
Oh,
No way.
yeah. It just blows my mind. Like I don't know what John Idzik was thinking. I have no clue what was in everyone's mind. I didn't think that he would be great at all. I thought he was going. I thought at best he would be average. I didn't think he would be as bad as he turned out to be. But I thought that he would be just an average free safety at best.
That's why you never draft players from a basketball school.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Louisville. Man, you want to talk about a lot of players committing to UCLA? What is that all about?
Hey.
That gets under my skin because I'm a USC fan. I was just standing there. I'm like, Sarkisian, do something. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Nothing you can do, man.
Oh my goodness, it was terrible. Yeah, no, that's how I feel about it. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I know I've criticized Amaro a couple of times, but Amaro will be a decent tight end. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not. Like, he's got the size for it. He definitely made some plays for us. He definitely had rookie moments. So I'm not gonna sit here and say, Amaro has been trash. Quite honestly, like, Amaro's style kind of reminds me of Tony Gonzalez. He's got the same body. He's got the same, he just has to be a little bit tougher, I think. And the reason why I say tougher is because there was a lot of times where, the ball was thrown into areas where there was a lot of defensive backs around, and I think because of that, you saw a lot of drops. So, I think he's going to be a huge potential for us in the red zone, for an offense that really struggled in the red zone. So if we get him involved, and no matter what anybody says, Decker isn't a top-notch wide receiver. Even when we signed him, I was like, okay, good, secondary wide receiver. Although I agree with you because I know you're a Curly guy. You like Curly. I think they shouldn't minimize Curly whatsoever for next season. Curly, he's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people kind of got a sample of Marty Morningway's offense, and they just figured these guys suck. But I'm telling you, it was not always these guys. It was Marty Morningway. We're in agreement about it. I know we definitely agree on that. Marty had a lot of calls that just didn't make any sense at all. And just outside of that, you watch Curly literally just disappear the whole year. I mean, he was gone. So it's like, that's why I'm excited to see Chan. I want to see what he brings, even though I'm not in love with him being an offensive coordinator. I just want to see what he brings and see how he gets guys, involved in the game. Are we going to see an emergence of Jason Morrow? Is he going to develop into the tight end that I definitely think he can be?
Yeah.
Jeremy Curley, are we going to see him turn out? Decker is a guy that I think is a number two wide receiver, at best a high end number two wide receiver. That's it. He's not a
Sure.
game breaker. He's not a guy that's going to blow your doors off. You talked about his inconsistencies last year as well. Just being often injured with that hamstring, and then when it wasn't a hamstring, he was okay. There were the games where he was healthy and he just disappeared. And then I also want to see how he gets Harvin involved as well. So I think that, like I said, I think all that stuff kind of played into play calling. Um, but I think that the signing of Decker, to me, I thought that we overpaid for him a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I think that there were other guys out there, Emmanuel Sanders. I loved Deshaun Jackson. Everyone, when he was a free agent, when he became a free agent initially, after the Eagles got rid of him, it was just like it was mind blowing to me that John Intic didn't make a move to bring him in because he was
Yeah.
literally begging to come here.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that came back to bite us. But
I was a bit hesitant on him, but he definitely proved that his off-field stuff's not going to really affect it when he went to Washington. I mean,
what? Yeah, but
so
there
no, no,
wasn't.
no.
Was
Yeah,
there
no,
much off the field stuff with him though?
no, no. That's the thing. Not really. The media did blow it up a little bit.
Hmm.
But to be honest with you, a guy like that, you need to have a good quarterback. I mean, a guy like that, I don't know. I mean,
I disagree with that because if you look at those
you have
quarterbacks
Geno
in Washington,
Smith,
yeah,
Joe. You have
yeah,
Geno Smith.
you're
Come
right,
on.
you're right. But Griffin was terrible in Washington this year, and so was all those other guys that they had out there in Washington. Those, these guys were trash. Okay, complete trash. So, and he was still getting his numbers. Deshaun Jackson was still getting his numbers. It didn't matter who was throwing to him. Okay, so I think that Deshaun Jackson is a guy that can bring it to you, regardless of whoever's at that quarterback position. And even the off the field stuff, like you said, I thought it was blown up. It was really
Yeah,
kind of a
totally.
made up thing, and it was kind of the Eagles just saying something so that they could get rid of him. But you know, that guy puts up numbers no matter who his quarterback is. So and passing up on him, I thought was a total mistake, an absolute mistake on our part.
You know what's amazing is if you actually get to read a little bit about Jackson a little bit, um, he's actually he loves his dad. I mean, I watched that whole documentary and I was like, man, you don't ever get to see all these good side of players. You always see the negative things. Um, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, we definitely haven't made the best decisions when it comes to the free agency. I'll tell you what, though, it's a make it or break it year for Chris Ivory, I think, because um, here's the thing: is to me, it's like you don't have Johnson looking over your shoulder this year, and I don't think Johnson was much of a factor. Talk about a waste of money, you know. But the reason why I say make it or break it is I want him to put up at least 1,200 maybe on for the season, just for the fact that we need to kind of stay true to the running game because if you have a quarterback that like you said, we need to spread the ball a little bit. We need to switch it up a little bit. I felt like some games last year we were true to the game plan starting off, and maybe the first couple of games, and then because of our defense, we played catch up, and then we started getting away from our game plan, just started throwing it and throwing it and throwing it, and that's never good when you got Geno Smith or Michael Vick as your quarterback, and that's the end result. So I, I don't want to say make it or break it, like I'm putting all the things in Chris Ivory's hands, but I think he needs to be able to take a little bit more initiative this year, um, and kind of do a little bit more than he did last year. So, what do you think about Chris Ivory?
I think Chris Ivory was one of the only bright stars on the team. I think he did as much as he could do. Our offensive line sucked.
No,
Our run blocking was terrible.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
I think that he was one of the only offensive weapons that we had that was consistent throughout the whole year was Chris Ivory. So, I mean, I'd like to see us get a deal done with him. I'd like to see us extend him for at least 2 more years. because of his running style, and running backs are a dime a dozen in this league.
He played
Um,
for New Orleans, right?
yeah, he did. He did. So that's a guy I like to see definitely be brought back. I don't think Chris Ivory is even, in the question of whether we should have him or shouldn't have him. He needs to
No,
stay
we
on
should.
this
We should.
team.
I
Yeah,
definitely. There's no question with having him or not. But
yeah.
I think my thing is I want him to be able to take ownership of that position. I don't want. You see what I mean? Because I think this year there was a lot of like, oh, well, who's a quarterback type of guy, but you're in a league now where you don't have a main running back.
You mean
It's kind of
like? Do you mean like you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
that's
But
a yeah, fine.
do you mean like take ownership of the position, like he's the number one running back, like, and that's it?
No, not necessarily, because again, we're in a league right now where you can't really just give it to one guy.
Hmm.
It's not what it used to be. I mean, 8 years ago, you can go back and have Ricky Williams, you can have McAllister from the same. You know what I mean? Like whatever the case might be. But there were a lot of times where, and I don't know if it's because the way we ran the team, but there were a lot of times where, especially the last couple of games in the season. I know that the season was done, but I felt like you know Chris Johnson made a comeback. Chris Ivory went in the slope. You know what I mean? And people were like, well, we should give Chris Johnson the ball more. You know what I mean? So I think that's where I'm kind of coming from. It's like, all right, give me that 100-plus yard game kind of back to back, and for me to be like, all right, you're my guy. That's kind
Yeah,
of what I mean by it. And it's not a knock on him because we didn't give him the ball enough or the offensive line wasn't performing. I totally get that. Um, but kind of my thing is be able to, because you gotta admit there was, I think, the last two games everybody was like, and I don't want to say everybody, but they were like, well, Johnson's back, we should have gave Chris Johnson the ball. No, we shouldn't have. He shouldn't have even been part of our team. But that's another John Itzik problem right there. So
yeah. I think that. Well, I think part of that is a mirage by Marty's offense. I
yeah,
remember there
gotcha,
was a
Marty.
game. Yeah, there was a game where I forgot. If Chris Ivory had any production early in games, you would often see him get snatched, and
Yep.
he'd be on the bench for forever, and there'd be no reason why he'd be on the bench. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't anything else. He'd just be gone. Then you
Yeah.
have the other things that Marty would do where there was games where Chris Ivory was literally benched in the fourth quarter, and they would bring Bilal Powell in and have him running the ball. Um, I like I said, I think that Chris Ivory did an outstanding job of what he had. He was a very solid force for us offensively. Whether he's on the field or not isn't really his. It's not his choice. It's the offensive coordinator telling him to sub in and sub out and bring Chris Johnson in. Chris Johnson was trash. This is
Oh,
almost
totally.
entire complete
Yeah.
trash. I think, like I said, I think that Chris Ivory was our solid weapon offensively. I think Marty mismanaged him as usual, and he did that with Jason Maru as well. He mismanaged a lot of the offensive personnel, and I think that Chris Ivory, maybe in the eyes of some fan, is just he's paying for that in the eyes of most fans because fans are thinking, oh well, he's not the guy, and give us a 100-yard game. He can only give you a 100-yard game if he has a 100-yard game offensive line. This offensive line, like I said, was trash this
Oh
year.
yeah,
You
totally.
had Brian Winters when he was playing early in the season getting blown up. And Ivory did have a couple 100-yard games this year as well.
No,
And he had some outstanding runs too. But you can't expect that every single game if you don't have any holes to run through. That's
That's
just
true.
it. And he caught the ball out the backfield extremely well too this year.
That's
Great
true.
receiving threat. So
That's
I
true.
think Chris Ivory, there's no doubt in my mind that Chris Ivory is a starter in this league and a starter on our team and is the man for this team. Because like I said, he was the only consistent bright spot on this team offensively the
That
whole year.
that's one thing that I haven't been able to transition into with the NFL is that whole how, and it was a fast transition too, where we just became a offensive passing league where everyone just passes and passes and passes.
Well,
I kind of like go ahead.
go ahead, kind of like go ahead. I'll let you finish.
And I think the transition kind of came from what is available from college and what comes transitions into the league. Like I get that, but I'm more of a. I guess I'm still kind of stuck into the Curtis Martin days where it was more of a pound the ball and get the yards. And if you think about it, it was running games like that that was able to make a Vinny Testaverde look good. You know, um, but I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it. But I don't know. I'm not big on this whole passing league, and I don't like the route how the commissioner's going about things at all. I mean, it's probably the
Well,
worst commissioner we've had. Um, Here's the thing that you can't even touch a guy anymore, and you get penalized. And I'll bring one thing up for you. This is off topic, and hold your thought on this. And I want to get your take on it because I know, you analyze the games a little bit based on what I've seen. Okay, um, based on what I've seen, the last play for the New England Patriots game against the Seahawks when they made that decision to throw the ball.
mhm.
I just want to get your take on it. Some people have told me, a lot of people have told me I'm wrong. But if you technically think about it, and again, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I want to get your opinion on it. When he threw the ball, he technically got bumped, did he not, the wide receiver?
Yeah, the corner ran through him.
I could have sworn that should have been a flag.
No, well, it's not a flag because they both have, they both. If the corner is eyeing the ball, like running that, and it's such a tight space, that's the ref not making a call to ruin the game. At that point, it's like you let the players play, unless it's something
Gosh, I wish you would leave
egregious.
the game. Yeah.
No, unless it's something egregious, like if he would have grabbed his face mask and like pulled him to the ground and threw him, he probably
But
would have got a call.
I've seen calls like that. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, but you
You know what I
won't see
mean?
calls like that in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter where it was in that game.
Woo.
But that's not a call because they both have rights to the ball. Because the corner's staring the ball down, it's a tight throw, it's coming in. They're gonna run each other. So it's like they did bump into each other. I'll give you that, but they bumped into each other on the
But
way to the ball.
there
That's
was
when they bumped into
contact.
each other.
There was contact before. There was
That's
contact to each other before he,
that's on the
technically
goal
grabbed the
line.
football.
Yeah, but that's on the goal line, and
But
he
it is
bumped
within the
him down
5
there.
yards, right?
Yeah,
It is within the 5.
I guess technically, yeah, it's within the 5 yards, but I think it's more the fact that they both have
Yeah,
ownership and
yeah,
rights to
that
the
makes
ball.
sense. Yeah, I just want to kind of get your perspective on it.
Yeah, I wanted to
Because,
go back to the question that you asked
yeah,
before.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Yeah. No,
about
you're
the
fine.
throwing league.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my thing is that is it a throwing league? Yeah, because the rules have been slanted all the way. So you got teams like the Saints, lighting up the football field. The Denver Broncos throw the ball all over the place. That's awesome. But if you look at what's winning in this league, it's never gone away from running the football. Running the football helps your entire team out. You look at the Cowboys, they run the football heavy. You look at the Seahawks, they run the football heavy. You look at some of the better teams in the league, they run the football heavy. The Patriots, they throw out the backfield, they do different things, but they run the football pretty decently as well. They're using their running backs too. All the really good teams in this league run the football. They still run the football heavy. There's some guys that are bombing, like I said, like the Saints, but there's still some very good teams, a lot of teams that are making it. Look at the Broncos. Later on in the season, what did they turn into? What did they condition themselves to do? To run the football heavy and pound it and run it down your throat. That's how you win football games. You look, the Green Bay Packers did the exact same thing. You still have to run the football in this league. Let's not get crazy, but you still have to run the football in this league. And that's why I encourage Jets fans. I understand you guys want to see the ball thrown all over the place. That's not the way we win football games, though. Let's win football games our way. We don't have to be the Saints. We don't have to be all these other flashy teams running around bombing all over the place. We don't have to do all that. Let's get back to winning football. And winning football is what? You throw the ball when you need to. This is exactly what Todd Bowles said, and I totally agree. We're going to throw the ball when we need to, but we're going to play complementary football. We're going to play football where defense comes first, and you run the football and you help your defense out. And you throw the ball when you need to. Like I said, it's still the same league, but there's just some advantages to throwing the ball now, and that's because you want to get the casual fan in here. You want games that are 50-56 because people want to see touchdowns. That's factual.
Yeah.
So.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab my charger real fast.
Oh, no problem.
My computer's. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't wait for the draft. I'll tell you that. I can't wait to see, how we go about things. But I'm really, really excited. I think, Todd Bowles, I just like how Todd Bowles carries himself. One thing that irritates me about Todd Bowles is he doesn't look at you directly in the eye when he speaks to you, but that's about it.
I thought he,
You can
you know,
never trust a man that doesn't. No, but
I, yeah,
he's
I
camera shy.
feel,
He's camera shy. I mean, he's not your John. I mean, he's not your Rex Ryan. That's for sure.
yeah, I thought he had a great presser. I think that he's a guy that's all about business. He's not about talking too much. I think he'll get along with the media though. But
He does.
I think he's going to be solid.
He doesn't throw people under the bus, which I
Mm-mm.
appreciate. You know, like
Yeah.
when they asked him about Geno Smith, his first conference, he was like, "Well, we're gonna sit down with, Geno
Hmm.
Smith," and doesn't make any promises. He doesn't come out and say, we have this and that, and so no, I like it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for free agency. I'm ready for the draft, and I'm ready for another season to start. Man, I'm ready to
cool.
go.
Do you have any more questions? Or?
Oh no, no more questions for me. So
Joe, man, I appreciate you coming on. I know it was him and I for like let me tell the viewers this. Him and I for the past 30 to 40 minutes we're sitting here trying to figure out how Google Plus works. But I don't think it was us. I really don't
mm-mm.
because he was sitting in front of his computer and I was sending him invites and he wasn't receiving it. So we apologize for the late start, but I really appreciate you coming on, Joe. Definitely have good insight on things. What I like about your insight is it's a different take on things. You can sit here and look at things that's been talked about on ESPN, and then you kind of have a way different take on it, and kind of makes you want to think, oh wow, geez, I never thought about the fourth running back on the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, a lot of people say that. I love football, and I guess I do have a unique way of thinking about things. But I'm a guy. I like to look at. I love the Jets so much, and I want to see us succeed so bad, and I just want to see us finally use resources and do what we need to do to become a better team in the NFL. And I think we have all that we need right now to really make that happen. And if we do what we need to do and we make the right choices, man, this could be an awesome team, and we could really make some runs. But we just got to seal up the future. And I think we have the front office, and I think we finally have the coaches and everything in place to really take it where we need to take it. So, and I also want to thank you for having me on, man.
Oh,
Seriously, you guys are great out there.
totally. We'll definitely do this more often. Probably the next one we'll probably do would be maybe after the draft, something to kind of talk about. Um, but besides that, I want to thank all of our viewers, all of our subscribers. Please subscribe to Young J 00. This is Joe's YouTube channel. Also subscribe to Nick's Bros TV. We are two away from 100 subscribers. What's funny about this? I told my brother in November we were like at 70. And I was like, hey man, I texted him. I was like, we're gonna get to 100 by end of November, and
Mhm.
it's like late February, and I'm like two away from 100. So it really isn't about the subscribers. It's about really the comments and the interactions that we have. I mean, Joe and I both like football, and we both have a passion for the New York Jets, and it's just kind of like there's definitely a lot of fans out there for different teams that have a tighter commute than we do. And I feel like as Jets fans, we got to be able to kind of get together. I like to have more audience on our channel for us to be able to speak it through a little bit more of a round table, I guess, and kind of talk about it. But besides that, guys, subscribe to us, comment to us, and Joe, I'm going to have you say your last words, and we'll wrap it up from here.
Yeah, again, I wanna thank you for having me on, man. Like you said, I really think Jet fans really need to link up together, and just strengthen the community a lot. I totally agree when you said that. Again, definitely subscribe to Nick Bros TV. Subscribe to me as well, Young J00. Again, you can hit me up on Twitter at YoungJ000. That's three zeros. On Twitter, hit me up. Again, I'm on Let's Talk Jets Radio every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just tune in. If you tweet me, you'll see all my links. I can tweet that to you as well. Listen to the show. It's me and
Yeah,
Tyson Roush. We're on there. We talk to everybody. Call in. You can talk to us as well. We're always talking Jets. So thank
perfect.
you, everyone, for talking, or everyone for watching, excuse me. And again, thank you for having me on.